Yeah, what's going on here? Hear all of our previously aired broadcasts of News for the Soul online at newsforthesoul.com. And let's get back to the show. Hear all of our previously aired broadcasts of News for the Soul online at newsforthesoul.com. And let's get back to the show.
Next on News for the Soul Radio, it's time for Perfectly Holistic with Pam. Pam is a cat mom and holistic health seeker who, after suffering an injury that wouldn't heal, was led on a journey to seek out alternative, holistic, and natural medicine. She now shares what she learned, helping people and their cats along their path to holistic health. Pam has taken courses in holistic health for animals, muscle testing, and animal communication. Please welcome Pam back to News for the Soul.
Welcome back to the Perfectly Holistic Radio Show. I am so excited to be with you guys tonight, and we have a really special guest, one of my teachers and mentors, honestly. And I'm honored to have Tracy Southwick with Heights of Health here joining us tonight. And you know, Tracy, it has been quite a journey. I mean, for me, just over the years, I think I've known you and your amazing team of practitioners since probably about 2006. And what a journey. I mean, it's because of that I started doing muscle testing, and it's because of muscle testing and cats and merging all of that, it's kind of brought me on this path to what I'm doing today. But I credit you and your team to introducing me to all of that. So if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this.
Oh, thank you. I am so grateful to be a part of that journey because you are helping so many people.
It's cool.
And cats.
And cats, yes. And they're amazing cat parents and, you know, actually a few dog parents and a few dogs. So it's all good. It's in the pet space. And there's such a need. There's such a need for this type of work in the pet space and supporting those pet parents who just want to learn how to do something better for their pets. They're not getting results that they want, or they see the benefit of looking at things through the lens of energy and the emotional side of health. And you know, that three sides of the triangle: we've got the emotional, we've got the physical, we've got the spiritual, and they do affect our pets, not just us. So that's what I love, like introducing people to. So one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, you guys, if you are watching, first of all, I want to welcome everyone here who is watching on Instagram. If you are watching from that platform, just know that we can't see your comments, but if you want to drop a comment over here on Facebook or YouTube, you can come over to our channel there. And if you have questions or comments, drop it over here on the side and in the chat, and I can actually see your comments and such. But Tracy, how did you get into doing what you are doing today? Because there's always a story, right, behind our profession, behind our path. So share just a little bit about how you got started.
It's actually much like your story. You know, I started with my own health journey in the mid-90s. Was diagnosed with, I went from doctor to doctor and couldn't figure out why I couldn't get out of bed. And I ended up being diagnosed with Epstein-Barr virus. And back then it was kind of just on the radar, but I had a really, really bad case of it. And there was a huge emotional component as well with what was going on in my life. And somebody suggested that I go to a health food store, and I didn't have anything to lose at that point. The doctors just wanted to put me on Prozac, and I was like, I knew at least at that time that was not the answer. So I went into a health food store and they showed me a different way. And just like you, I wanted to stand on the rooftops and say, there's a different way. There's a different way, you know, and the body, has to be treated holistically, right? We have to look at the mind, body, spirit, the emotional aspects of it. Everything's so intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
So I opened up a health food store in Fredericksburg, Texas, which is out in the hill country, not too far from you.
Yes.
And had a radio show out there and just loved it. Ended up eventually moving back to my hometown of Houston. And back when I met you is when I opened up Heights of Health, which is a holistic health clinic in Houston, and the Heights. The neighborhood's called the Heights.
Yep.
And have an amazing team, many of whom have been with me since I opened. As you know, as you mentioned, Sonia and Stacy and, the crew. So it's wonderful. And in 2019, I spoke at a conference for a supplement company, and they kept saying, why aren't you teaching what you do in your clinic? And I was kind of shocked that people cared to learn. And so I had my first beta class in November of 2019. And I think shortly after that's when you took mind, body, spirit release, which is kind of the more emotional aspect of identifying and clearing emotions. It's all about energy work that you talk about all the time. And then few after that, I developed a way to teach practitioners how to address the body holistically using the flow of the body, which is incorporating the physical aspect into it, like how to detox, how to put together programs in the body, and that's called the holistic wellness approach. So I teach both of those, and of course use them both in my clinic as well. So it wasn't a short story, but that's how I ended up where I am.
Well, that's incredible. And I think, even in the pet space, whenever I meet someone who's like a new brand or a food company, there's always either a health challenge for themselves or their pet that started them on their path, right? And like had their wake up moment, their found their purpose, their calling, and then they started this new journey and they're like 100% in. It's like, okay, I know why I'm here. So it's very satisfying when you figure out what your purpose is and why you were put here on this earth and how we're meant to serve people and help them. For those who are drawn to this kind of approach, who want a more holistic approach, and for a lot of people, they don't really understand what holistic means. So can we start with that? Let's talk about what holistic means.
Yes, that is a great question, or great starting place, because holistic has become synonymous with natural, and it's not. Holistic really means whole. So our body, mind, and spirit. So it's addressing all of those aspects of who we are so that we can truly thrive. So if you just address the physical aspect, I learned this a long time ago, you're going to hit a ceiling, right? You're not going to get better unless you look at what emotions maybe have I not processed through my life, or what limiting beliefs do I have that are keeping me from being the best person that I am? And we look at this in terms of actually toxins and deficiencies. So we talk about this in Mind, Body, Spirit Release all the time is as a naturopath, the primary cause of disease in the body is either, actually it's usually both, malnutrition or toxicity. And malnutrition, like on a physical level, could be a deficiency in, say, for a human, in vitamin D. It could be a lack of water, something like that on a physical level that you're not getting enough of. And then you could have a toxin, right? Like a heavy metal or something like that. But then you need to move to the emotional side, where you could have unprocessed emotions. Maybe you're holding on to anger or resentment from something in the past, and you're harboring those emotions, and that doesn't do anything. We hear I can't remember who said it, but the expression, it's like giving poison to yourself, hoping the other person will die. Like you're not doing anything to benefit the relationship. You're only harming yourself. But sometimes we don't realize that we're harboring those kinds of emotional toxins. And then you could have emotional deficiency, right? You're not feeling joy. or you're not feeling connection with other people. And then there's the spiritual, like holding on to unforgiveness. I talk about that as being a toxin, an emotional toxin, because it keeps you away from spiritual connection.
Yes.
Yeah. And then a deficiency could be, lack of faith, maybe you're not feeling that. So you've got to look at that on all those levels. And not that we pry into people's spiritual life or their emotions where they're not wanting to go or ready to go, but it is important to look at the person and talk to them about how they can thrive if they really start to look at and address the different aspects of their life that make them a whole person.
Right. Yeah, that's 100% true. And I remember in one of our meetings that we had with the Mind Body Spirit Release team, you made a presentation at one of the supplement companies, and I don't know if you want to say their name online, so I won't. Where you said, and this is profound, you said, if you're not addressing your emotions, if you're not addressing emotions, you're not truly using a holistic approach. Because it's true. It's really true. And I think especially in the, well, I would say human space, but even in the pet space, there's so much focus put on the physical. Physical, and, to a fault, but that's just how veterinary professionals are trained, and that's how medical doctors are trained. It's focused on the physical, because there's a problem, there's a symptom or whatever. So let's find a Band-Aid that fits that particular symptom or addressing, instead of finding a root cause of something.
Yes.
But like you said, they don't find true healing because they're not looking at three sides of the triangle. They're just looking at one side and expecting that to fix it all. And it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't.
It doesn't. And it's so true with pets as well. I mean, animals take on our emotions.
Absolutely.
And anytime someone comes in to see me and we start working with I don't work with pets to the level that you do by any stretch, but I always say, you've got to look at the pet parent and say, okay, is this something that's coming from the household, and not in a blaming way or anything like that? Maybe it's just, the animal's trying to give us awareness of what maybe we're holding on to, and we see the same thing with children, right? Children are misbehaving oftentimes because there's something in the home, little children, not always, obviously, that's a blanket statement,
right?
But a lot of times there's a connection between what's going on in their environment. My kids certainly reacted when I was stressed out. Boy, they would act up, and when I get stressed, I see it in my dog. She gets, all wiggly and needy and all kinds of things. So I totally agree with you.
100%. So how did you come up with holistic wellness approach, and what does that encompass? Like, for someone who has never worked with someone like you as a naturopath doctor, or someone who has never gone to a naturopath, like a holistic health practitioner, to work with them from an energy perspective, what does that look like, and how does it work?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Wow. Let's see if I can make this concise because it's a big question.
Well, take your time.
So the reason I started is because when I was teaching Mind Body Spirit Release, I had so many practitioners that were like, how I want to be able to add the physical in. And so I started teaching the holistic wellness approach so that we could create that way to use muscle testing, which is muscle testing is just a way to talk to the nervous system. So it's using the muscles when you stimulate a response. You give a stimulus to the body and get a response back via the muscles. So the nervous system has a response, and the muscles will give you an idea of if that response is supportive, if it makes the body strong, or if it's something that causes stress in the body. So we're just using the muscles, and I'm talking about in person. So this can be, and that's a whole other world, talking about how to do this remotely, but focusing on the in person. So we use this technique called muscle testing. A lot of people are familiar with it from chiropractors, but just to get responses, sort of yes and no, or I'm compatible with this and this stresses me out. So you're going to get a one side or the other response. So holistic wellness approach is a way to go through certain steps. It's a framework to determine, using the natural flow of the body, how to put together programs using muscle testing specific for each individual. So we don't use any protocols because everybody's different.
Right.
We all have our own experiences. We all have our own unique biochemistry, and muscle testing takes that into account. So it's not just you have this, you need to take this. That doesn't work that way.
Right.
So it goes through a process of, first we need to make sure the mitochondria is strong. So the mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cells. And those powerhouses generate ATP, which is the currency, energy currency the body uses to heal, to repair, for the immune system to work, for the body to produce hormones so it can communicate. So we have to have that in line before we can do anything else. Because if I start throwing supplements at somebody to detoxify them, right, they're going to feel horrible because the body's not going to have the energy to do anything. And they're just going to be wasting their money, wasting their time, and feeling crummy. So we're optimizing the mitochondria first. Then we check on the digestion, right? So we want to use this technique to figure out how the digestion is working. Because if you can't break down and utilize nutrition, then how are you going to feed the cells for them to rebuild or for them to detoxify? So we're going to get those two things optimized. Then we're going to look at the neuroendocrine system, which is the nervous system and the hormones, to make sure the body can communicate. So, and all this, these aren't separate appointments. This is just within the realm of putting a program together for somebody. So we've got those things in line, and we're going to make sure all of that. And the cell, I missed one, the cell membrane. So we want to make sure the cell membrane is supple and healthy, which a lot of times it's not. With all the seed oils that people eat, seed oils actually make the cell membrane rigid, so you can't get nutrition into the cells or waste out. So we're going to optimize the cell membrane. And when we're going through each of these steps, we're testing to see if there's an emotion or something in that realm that needs to be addressed that's affecting, for instance, the mitochondria, or if they need to do some lifestyle adjustments. For instance, something maybe like you need to spend more time in the sun. So it's really creating lifestyle and dietary suggestions for somebody. So it's creating a very comprehensive program, not overwhelming, but comprehensive. And then once you have all that optimized, you're going to start working on opening the flow of detoxification in the body. So we're a flow system. We're meant for things to come into the body. We get the good stuff out, and our body releases the waste. But if the colon's not working, so if somebody's colon's imbalanced, which most of us it is, right, because of overuse of antibiotics or poor diet, stress, so many different things. If that, call it a plug, if that plug is plugged up and things aren't moving like they're supposed to, then everything else backs up. So the liver gets overloaded, kidneys get overloaded, the lymphatic system gets overloaded. So we need to make sure all of this drainage funnel is open and flowing. So that when we move into proper detoxification, then we can make sure things go out and don't just get stirred up and deposited somewhere else. So in the detoxification realm, we're looking using the same kind of muscle testing techniques I was talking about before to identify where certain toxins might be hiding in the body. Different pathogens like parasites, very common one, bacteria that's pathogenic. There's Lyme disease and co-infections. And of course, we can't diagnose through this, so we always talk about it, the energy of this is in there. But and we look at mold and candida and fungal infections and the energy of all these things that the body is holding on to, and we can figure out what that specific person needs to take to get rid of whatever those toxins are. So to help the body do what it naturally knows how to do, it just needs a little help. It needs some support. So it's this whole process of going through optimizing the systems of the body so that the person can have the most ideal and effective detoxification program and then rebuilding thereafter.
Yes. And then can you also address like a little bit about what that detoxification might look like all the different types of factors that are involved that contribute to the toxins? Like, do we need toxin binders for environmental or heavy metals? Like, can you talk, like, people don't even realize how many factors there might be contributing to their toxic burden.
Absolutely. I mean, we are exposed to tens of thousands of chemicals that we don't even know individually what those do to the body, much less collectively. I mean, we're breathing them in. I'm not saying this to make everybody scared, but just to make you realize that, we can say, well, my grandmother was fine and she ate all this or whatever, but she wasn't exposed to all those chemicals and toxins that we are now. We're in this toxic soup that we've created in the environment, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So the number one thing is to help if the person's being exposed to those toxins, of course, we've got to stop that exposure. So I do a lot of education around, skincare, dietary changes, those kinds of things.
Yes.
So it's like you can't be taking the poison at the same time you're trying to take the poison out. So, and one this is a good example because it affects pets and humans, and it really affects pets even more so than humans, is spraying for pesticides, roaches, and those kinds of things. Very popular in Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The animals are laying down on the areas and in the grass where you're spraying that stuff and absorbing it in. It's going in the paws. They're eating the grass, those kinds of things. So there are natural alternatives that you can use that are effective, but it stops that process of just constantly retoxifying the pets.
Yes. And I am really surprised at how little attention people pay to just their household cleaners, their bug sprays, their herbicides, their weed killers. You know what I'm saying? Their fragrances in their home.
Yeah, the plugins.
Yes, and the toxic cookware, the Teflon. And part of it is not their fault, because I think a lot of this information has been suppressed because there's no money in healthcare. I mean, if in
natural healthcare, wellness care, yes,
it's really not. They want you to stay sick, and they don't want you to know that all these things contribute to your illnesses and your chronic disease and things like that, because they make a lot of money off of those products.
I know people ask me why, but why? The FDA approved it. Not really. I mean, the FDA doesn't. Well, there are a few things to this. The FDA, they don't even look into most of the chemicals. No. They just say, "Tell me if it's safe," and the company's like, "Oh, of course it's safe," and they've never tested it. Nobody's tested it.
Right.
And I always say follow the money, because people say why, but why would they do this? Just like you said, follow the money. There's a lot of money in it.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge part of it, and a huge part of, my mom always used these things, right? My mom always used perfume. So it never would dawn on me that perfume is super toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of things are all, I have a teenage daughter, and it's so hard because all of her friends use all the toxic stuff all the time. And you walk into a room where they've been in, and you're just like, whew. You can see all the chemicals and the nail polish and so it's hard, and it's hard. There are alternatives though. There's so many wonderful alternatives now. It's just that people need to learn that there are alternatives, and they, because those alternatives don't have the huge marketing pockets that say, a big cosmetic company would have, like CoverGirl, right? I mean, they've got tons of money that they can spend on marketing. So that's what's in our face all the time. So it's tough. It's tough, but when people really start looking, there's a lot of great information out there, like what you're talking about. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, and I get this because that's where I was. That's how I got into the space. I had to get really sick to realize that I needed to take better care of myself. When I was sick, I was living on Diet Dr. Pepper, and pasta because I was so tired I couldn't make anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And then people would bring over cookies and cakes and all that to make me feel better, but all it was doing was making me sick.
Yeah.
I mean, they were doing it out of kindness and being sweet, but it wasn't what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
One of the things that we do check for in holistic wellness approach are viruses and biotoxins and those kinds of things. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like this could even go into vaccines, you know?
yeah, well, we definitely look for spike protein for people.
Mm-hmm.
So in that virus mix, spike protein, and it's surprising how many people that comes up for. And then there are ways to detoxify it.
Mm-hmm.
Biotoxins from mold and also just from any kind of internal processes where your body's producing toxins.
Mm-hmm.
So those things are super helpful for as far as like vaccine detox. There's the heavy metals and environmental toxins,
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of things that'll come up too. And once you know what the priority for that person is, and that's a really important point about holistic wellness approach, is things come up as the body's ready to deal with them.
Yeah.
So you're not forcing anything. You're not saying, okay, Pam comes to me and I think, well, I know she lived in mold. I'm going to detox her from mold, but that might not be the right thing at that time. That might be too much for you. Or your body may need to deal with an excess of spike protein from, being around people that were, shedding or having gotten COVID or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the beauty of the body, the nervous system knowing what's best for you at that time.
Mm-hmm. And it's also important will you talk about how we can't do too much at once because the body can't.
Yeah. The body is unbelievably brilliant. In fact, that's our tagline for Mind, Body, Spirit, Release is your body is brilliant. Because your body knows. So you definitely, when you're doing a holistic wellness approach, you're always asking, can I do more or is this the best? Do I need to stop here and let this person really get their mitochondria online, their energy up? Because usually that first month, maybe even the first 2 months, we don't even go anywhere near any kind of detox.
Right.
This is too much. It's too much. And, if somebody starts feeling sick from what I've put them on, they're going to be like, I'm not going back to her. And then they, you have no compliance and they don't get any benefit. So we don't want that.
Right.
We definitely want that. So sometimes, we go slower so that we can go faster and be more effective in the long run. So it's definitely an art and a science at the same time.
No, I love that. And I think it's important for people to realize that, I think in this society of instant gratification that we live in, people want to just be done with it. They're like, let's just do it all at once. And when you realize that the body can't do it all at once, it slows everything down. And I know that can be frustrating, but at the same time, you want it to be effective and you want it to be gentle and you want it to be thorough. So we can't cut corners. You can't skip steps.
Yeah.
The body will only respond accordingly to what it's given, and you want to help it be successful. So compliance is a big issue, like you said. And if they're overloaded with way too many supplements, or if they are, if they're just miserable through the whole process, you're right, they're not going to be compliant and they're not going to want to finish it. But yet that's what their body needs to finish it. But what I love about holistic wellness approach is it is systematic and it does break things down in a specific way that we can show people this is what your body is able to do at this time. And we just have to give it time. We have to give it time to get to a level where it can do more. But I don't think people realize just how sick they are.
I think you're absolutely right because they've been living that way for so long.
Yeah.
So I always remind people it took you a long time to get where you are. a long time, and it can take a long time to get back to health, but you'll feel better in the process, right?
Yes.
And health isn't like this. Getting to health is not like this. It's like loop-de-loops and ups and downs, but you're moving generally in that direction.
Yes.
And so, you know, patience, and we want something that's sustainable, that will give them lasting results, like you were saying. And it's, you know, you look at, like, if you've got a severe mold issue, it can take 2 years to get rid of mold, especially if you're still being exposed to it, which you need to get out of the environment. Heavy metals as well, they can take a long time to get out of the system. So being patient and not overwhelming people. I see people come in often that have been going to other practitioners, and I'm not saying this to criticize other practitioners, but they'll come in with a basket of supplements, and we actually say that supplementing someone to death, right? Your body still has to process those things.
Yes, your poor liver.
Yeah, your liver and your kidneys, and you know, your body has to process them. It's incredibly expensive.
Yes.
And so that's always not good. And the person just gets sick and tired of taking pills over and over. So what's the most efficient and effective way to get to where they want to go without them having to do that? And we usually try to stay, you know, to five to seven different supplements max when we're going through the holistic wellness approach. Sometimes it's even less.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's less, but it's, you don't want to overwhelm somebody, and giving them lifestyle things and addressing the emotional is a lot of work too, right? So, you know, making it something that is sustainable. And for instance, maybe the emotional aspect of it is just that they need to write down 3 things at night that they're grateful for every day, just to shift the focus of their thoughts to positive things.
Right.
Which that's not a hard thing to do, but it's still a habit, right? That you have to create if you're not doing it. And maybe they need to chew their food until it's all the way, you know, in a paste, because they're not getting enough nutrition out of their food. So, I mean, there can be simple things like that, that they can develop those habits that can really, really make a big deal change in their life, versus let's just keep giving them supplements. Well, they're not chewing their food, so give them digestive enzymes. But maybe chewing their food is all they need to do. So,
no, that's amazing, and I love the fact that in the holistic wellness approach, you have kind of already tested, like, time and true products, modalities, supplements, remedies, you know, that you've worked with for years, brands of things. And so it's not like up to us to go try to find something that works. We already have it kind of listed out to give us some great options. And if you don't have if you don't have access to a specific brand per se, if you're in a different country, you give great options for like herbs or things that can do the same thing, to give people more choices, you know, so that this can be available no matter where you live, which is awesome.
That's true. Yeah, we have practitioners all the way to Singapore that we've trained. So, and several in the UK, and even in Africa. I mean, there's Tasmania. So, yeah, all over the place. And it's nice that that there are options, and we try to do that. I want it to be something for practitioners where they feel like they're equipped to do this, instead of, yes, here's a tool, but now you have to go figure out how to make it work in your wherever you are, and with whatever your specialty is.
Yes, or what resources are available where
exactly.
Exactly. We can access. Can you talk a little bit about some of the lifestyle options? Like, just give people an idea when we make recommendations for lifestyle changes. What are some examples of things that might look like?
Absolutely. And, you know, it's interesting. I'm going to interject this real quickly. One of our UK practitioners only uses lifestyle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I don't know if she does it with all of her clients, but she's developed a way to use this with just making lifestyle changes and has made great progress with people.
Wow. That's
So
amazing.
yeah, it's really neat. So going back to digestion. So say digestion comes up as weak, maybe the person is not chewing their food properly. Maybe the person needs to stop being stressed when they're eating. So if they sit down in front of the news while they're eating,
Yeah.
or if they've got 5 minutes between meetings and they're just shoveling the food in, your body's producing all these stress hormones that's going to make you not be able to digest. You get into fight or flight and you can't digest.
Yeah.
So simple things like before you eat, do some breath work. Do, a minute of breath work, or say a prayer of gratitude over your food, because
Mhm.
that will shift. That'll shift your energy.
Yeah.
Turn off the news.
Yeah.
Stop scrolling.
Yeah.
So, those kinds of things. So that would be one for digestion. Mitochondrial stuff. Oftentimes it's things like getting sun, grounding, free. It's almost everything in the lifestyle section is free.
Mhm.
Breath work can help with mitochondria. For some people, cold showers or cold plunges,
Mhm.
very helpful. Exercise helps your mitochondria tremendously. So there are a lot of things that you can do. And when we can get down into the details about exercise and say, okay, I want you to do this kind of exercise for this many minutes, this many times a week. And that can really, really shift. Of course, that's not ideal for everyone, because if you're absolutely exhausted, then that's not going to be the best way to go about it. So, but
Right.
everybody's unique, and
Mhm.
you can tailor it towards what somebody's able to do, what they're willing to do.
Mhm.
So as you go through this, it may be the best thing for them to get sunshine for 20 minutes a day, but they live in Alaska and it's dark 24/7. So so we have to find a workaround.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so it's very, I don't know, flexible is the name, adaptable
Yeah.
to different people and their circumstances.
Yes. One of the things that I think is really cool is in one of the charts that in terms of lifestyle or other things to address, and it all resonates with the person that we're working with, but it will tell us they need to address environmental toxins, and that might be body care products, that might be the fragrances in the house or the perfumes that they wear, or it might be cleaning products that they're being exposed to that's contributing to the body's burden of toxins.
Yeah.
And so it's a very specific, like, here's your checklist to go through your house or go through your body care and start to clean out and throw out and replace, because most people don't realize. I didn't years ago. And when
Sure.
I had that wake up call moment, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, you're out, you're out, and it was just like cleaning house, it's just throw everything out and let's go to something a whole lot more natural and clean. And uh, what a difference that just that right there,
Absolutely. And you feel so much better.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They're in everything. Like I was somewhere opening up a garbage bag to fill the garbage, and I got this weird smell, and I looked at the box and I didn't realize that they make scented garbage bags. And now they make garbage bags that are scented that have pesticides in them.
Oh my gosh.
So be careful, because you're touching that, right? Your hands have the second you smell something, it's in your bloodstream
Yes.
and it goes straight to your brain. And
Mhm.
your hands and feet have the biggest pores in your body.
Yes.
So you absorb so much through your hands and feet.
Mhm.
And drinking water is another huge one. I'll ask people what kind of water they drink, and they'll say it's filtered. And I say, well, what kind of filter? And they're like, a Brita. And I'm like, that's not a filter. I mean, that just takes some of the chlorine out, and maybe if there's some iron in the water.
Mhm.
Or a refrigerator filter, that's just a plain carbon filter. There's so much
Yeah.
better ones out there, and we have in our water supply now And you can go to ewg.org and
Mhm.
look up your zip code, and it will tell you the chemicals that are in your tap water. And it's scary.
It is scary.
It is scary. Houston has arsenic. 80% of Texas has radioactive elements in it. Uranium, radium. We're drinking this stuff.
Yeah.
So getting a good water filter is one of the best things you can do. So think about, and this goes back to what you were talking about with the smells, where are you going to get the most toxins? How often do you breathe, right? So through your lungs, huge toxin exposure. So you need to make sure that, you've got clean air, and our houses are so sealed up now that we don't have that circulation of air. So lots of great air purifiers out there. And then water is number two, so you can go through and do kind of the obscure detox stuff. But if you're not taking care of your air and your water, and then food is three, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and it can feel overwhelming. But if you do it just one thing at a time, right? Just start down that path, and you'll start to notice shifts that you feel better and say, okay, this month I am going to commit to getting a good water purifier.
Yeah.
Like a number one is distiller. And then maybe a 5-stage RO unit is probably the easiest, and it's inexpensive. You can get them on Amazon for $150.
Yeah. They've really come down and become more affordable. So that's so awesome. But you're right. It can feel overwhelming. And that's what's so cool about HWA, is just because it does help you focus on only a little bit at a time, and then on top of learning what is contributing to the health problems, it's having a solution. It's having a plan going forward that is written out for you to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also give you a recheck date. Like, okay, don't wait. Don't put it off 6 months. Do the recheck, because we've got to check your progress and see how you're doing. Tap in and figure out how your body is handling everything. And are you ready for the next step, whatever that might look like? Because I think some people just think, okay, well, I did the first session, or I did whatever, and I'm good, and I don't need to do anything else. But just like with our pets, we can't keep taking the same supplements forever. We need to reevaluate, and because sometimes the body doesn't need that anymore. Why are we wasting money on that?
Yeah.
And your body doesn't need it, so we don't need to keep doing that. But unless you check, you don't know.
Well, and that's a great point. Another thing to add on to that is, you don't know what your exposures might have been.
Right.
So you may have been, mold didn't show up, but you went on vacation to, I don't know, a beach house somewhere and got exposed, and you're not understanding why you have these headaches and you feel nauseated in the morning, and you've got some, maybe some sniffles that won't go away. It could be that, you've breathed in some mold spores, and we just need to address that now.
Exactly. Or like what happened to me, getting parasites in my sinuses. From swimming outdoors. I mean, who would have thought? That was quite a shock for me, because I thought it was just allergies. No.
It's parasites.
It's parasites. What joy.
I know. If you've ever gone swimming, and it could be a swimming pool, a lake, a stream. Yeah. I've had a lot of them too myself.
That's crazy. And it's shocking what the body reveals, because the body has all the answers. So it's when you pose the right questions, or in this case, making the statements and stuff the way we do it, it's frighteningly shocking what answers you can get. It's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. But it makes sense when you stop and you think, and you're like, oh my gosh, and that correlates with all the symptoms that I've been having. And then people can always go to their medical professional and get diagnostic work done and compare the two, depending on how much diagnostics you want to do. But when we look at it through the lens of energy, a lot of times things will show up energetically before they will show up physically. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the doctors, unfortunately, many of the things that we're looking at, they don't even have ways to test.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they like, for instance, a parasite test. So if you go in and give a stool sample for a parasite test, it's most always won't show up
Right.
because the parasite has to be shedding at the time of the bowel movements.
Yeah.
Parasite has to be in the intestines, and you can have parasites anywhere. There are lymph flukes um, and pancreatic flukes and liver flukes. Yes. And in fact, I had a client that, and lastly, they have to be looking for that specific parasite.
Yeah.
So if they're just looking for the top 5 that show up, they're not going to be looking for some random parasite that you got in Costa Rica 20 years ago.
Right. Right.
So, in fact, I had a client recently that she was having this knee pain. And when I went through holistic wellness approach, it showed up parasites in her knees, like microscopic parasites. How would a doctor have even been able to test that unless he did stuck a needle in and sucked the fluid out?
Right.
But had her start doing stuff, and within a week, the pain was gone.
Wow.
So, and she had been dealing with this pain for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and another one is, I have a client, and she and her husband are both clients they have a house in Colorado, and they go from there, obviously escaping the Houston heat. So they're up there, and I'm talking to her, and she's saying, my husband has this cough. He can't get rid of this cough. And I've been sick all summer, and I've got all these sinus issues, and I'm like brain fog and no energy. I just feel horrible. And so I got the holistic wellness approach kit out, started testing her, and it came up with radioactive elements.
Oh my.
I know. And so I talked to her, and I said, first I did research because I didn't realize this. There's so much uranium and radon in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
And so I started talking to her about it. And I said, do you have a basement? She goes, yes, my office is in my basement.
Oh, wow.
So she had been working all day, every day in this basement. She had it tested for radon, and anything over a 2 needs to be mitigated.
Okay.
Hers was a 23, off the charts, 23. Yeah. And so she never would have known, and of course started healing after that. And then we had to do a lot of detox for the radiation. Her husband's cough went away, and she got her energy back. But I never would have thought to look for that.
Well, no, why would you?
Yeah.
That's incredible, actually.
Yeah, it was great to know. So she actually, right after that, she had to get out of the environment. So they came back to Houston, and they had somebody mitigate their basement, while they were away, because she was so sick being in it.
Right. And this is totally off topic, but how would radon get into their basement?
So that's normally how it gets in. So it off gases from the earth.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's a gas. So in water, it'll show up as radium, but radon is a gas that you usually find it in basements.
Interesting.
But we don't have basements in Texas for the most part. So it's not something it's on our not even on our radar.
Right.
So
that's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah. It just goes to show you how the power of, like, when you can't see something, it's out of sight, so therefore it's out of mind. Yeah. We don't pay any attention because it's not blatantly flashing a light in front of us saying, heavy metals, radon, parasites. It's like these things. They're either gas, they're invisible, or they're microscopic, and we can't see them with our own eyes. So that's why it's so easy to just push things aside and just think, oh, it's just allergies, or because we tend to try to rationalize or make excuses for the symptoms that we have, thinking, well, I just have really poor digestion. But I'm like, but why do you have
Why?
I'm probably the most annoying person because I'm always asking why, but why do you have that? You need to be asking why you have these things, and
I
not
think
accept them that you have these things. But when you figure out the why, you can figure out the what. But until then, it's very difficult to figure out what to do that's going to actually make sense and get you results.
so. That's actually a beautiful way to put it, because that's the difference between Western medicine and truly holistic medicine.
Yeah.
Because we're looking for the why.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like the analogy of, your check engine light comes on. Are you just going to put a sticker over it, a
Right.
Band-Aid over it? Because that's what most medications are. They're not made to heal, but they're made to mask symptoms.
Correct.
Because it makes, going back to following the money, it makes a lot more money if you can keep someone on a pill for life versus have their body tap into its natural innate healing ability, because we were made to thrive. I truly believe that we were not put on this earth our bodies weren't made to be unhealthy.
Right.
It's just, the body's just saying, hey, there's something out of kilter here. Help me.
Mm-hmm.
And the headache may mean a lot of different things, but it's a sign.
Yeah.
It's not a sign that you're deficient in Tylenol.
That's so true.
It's
not going to fix the problem.
Right. But you may be deficient in water. Your liver may be needing some support. You may be having some high blood pressure. You may need magnesium. There can be all different types of things that could be causing it, or it could be emotional.
Yeah.
We've all had stress headaches.
Yes, absolutely. Or a little bit of all the above.
Yeah.
Like we find most of the time. So this has just been such a great topic, because we've hit on so many high points and so many reasons why holistic wellness approach can be so helpful for people. So I guess my challenge for our viewers is, if you've ever, or if you are currently struggling with a chronic issue of some kind, and you feel like you're on a hamster wheel and you're not getting the results that you want, and you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired, reach out to us. And do a session, because there is life, there is healing to be had, but sometimes we just have to use the right approach. We have to find the right tools,
Yeah.
and that is what's so cool about holistic wellness approach, is it uncovers the why from an energetic perspective. It's not meant to diagnose, treat, or cure, or prescribe. But when you look at things through the lens of energy, it gives you a different perspective, and it talks to the body, and the body tells you, this is what I need, this is not what I need. And so it streamlines the healing process. And I think most people, they come to practitioners because they want to heal. And so this is such a powerful modality that really promotes true healing and wellness versus just treating symptoms, because again, that doesn't promote true healing.
Absolutely. Well said.
I guess I say that a lot. Before we wrap up, can you just tell people where they can find you if they want to follow you, if they want to learn more about Heights of Health, if they want to learn about Mind, Body, Spirit Release, or, listen to any of your interviews or podcasts, where can they find you?
Well, thank you. They can find, so my clinic is called Heights of Health. So heightsofhealth.com, or on Instagram, it's Heights of Health.
Okay.
In Facebook, I think. I don't do this. I mean, we do social media stuff, but I forget what they're calling. What do you call it? Not a hashtag, an at.
Well, that's your handle. I think your handle.
My handle. Thank you. That's how clueless I am about social media. But Mind, Body, Spirit Release is my teaching academy. So it's open to practitioners, but non-practitioners too. A lot of people go through and just learn not necessarily a holistic wellness approach. You need to have a background in physiology and anatomy for that. But for just the emotional clearing technique, anybody can take that, because you can use it on yourself, on your family. We have a lot of people that have come through and decided to become practitioners. So that's mindbodyspiritrelease.com. And my handle is Mind, Body, Spirit Release.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. And if you guys want to do or explore a little bit more about holistic wellness approach, just check out perfectlyholistic.com. Look at the services, or you can go to shop.perfectlyholistic.com and look under services, and you'll find it on there. And if you want to book a free 20-minute consultation with me to talk about whatever it is you're dealing with, we can start there and see if that might be a good modality for you to explore doing. But Tracy, thank you so much for your time and for being here. This is such a great, important topic, and it's such a powerful modality that's helping tons of people and their pets. And I love energy stuff, and so it aligns so well with what we do here.
I love it. Thank you, Pam, so much.
You're so welcome. And thank you guys for watching. Please share the show out. And if you have questions or comments, drop them below, and we'd love to hear from you guys. So until next time, y'all have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you next month for another show. Thanks, everyone.